Here we go. And now we are live. And now we are live. It is not a live stream if there are not technical difficulties. Um, Real early today. Was up late watching the fights, and hope y'all are caffeinated and ready for some fight talk. If you're out there watching, let me know in the comments. Let's try and get 30 likes on this stream. It's an aggressive goal, but you got to dream, believe, and achieve. And what a great fight card, man. We had what was the last fight night with ESPN, the last pay-per-view within maybe the entirety of UFC's history at 323, which I am very excited about. Sayonara, 1 a.m. finish times. Goodbye, pay-per-view, cash grabs. The paywall has been hiding the sport from a lot of eyeballs for many, many years. I am so excited to put that chapter behind us and start, with the Paramount Plus deal that'll be on us soon in January 2026. I'm rejoicing the fact that that is finally behind us. Man, we had a ton of high-profile UFC card rookies on the card last night. Bunch of fighters who also do not have cards yet, who we will talk about in this episode, who we may see in the future, maybe in 2026 for a couple of these people. Insane, insane fight card. We got Talbott Cejudo. Personally, I had major questions, man. Can Talbot put it all together against, even at this stage of his career, a guy like Cejudo who is complete and a former champion? We had questions, and Talbot studied for the test, and he had answers. We'll talk about that matchup and take a look at some of his cards. Taira versus Moreno. Taira, another super young guy, getting it done against a former tough, gritty competitor like Brandon Moreno. The commentary was saying it was an early stoppage. I completely disagree, but we'll talk about what's next for Taira. Take a look at his cards. Also, Josh Van wins the title. And let me know in the chat, is this the most anticlimactic title win of all time? 26 seconds, an injury. Pantoja posts his arm, and his arm explodes like it had C4 and dynamite inside of it. Pretty entertaining fight card, but that one honestly was a little bit of a letdown, especially because it started to look like it was really going to be a fun, entertaining, fast-paced matchup. Josh Van, second youngest champ of all time. We'll talk him. Take a look at his cards. And do they explode right now? Kind of the question I have. I wonder what's going to happen with his market. And lastly, Yan steamrolls Merab. And despite the commentary from DC, which was insufferable at times, usually I like him, but last night he was clamoring that Merab was somehow winning when he was getting cracked and hurt in every single round. I agree with the decision. 4-1, 49, 46. I love DC most of the time, but during that matchup in particular, he was a little bit biased, and that is kind of the knock on him sometimes. But we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about Petr Yan's market. Man, lots to talk about today, so hope you guys are out there, and let me know in the chat what's going down. Let's see, we got our first one here. There it is. You talk about the audio. Yeah, it took a second to get that up and running. Let's see. I feel like Van cards won't raise enough because of how he won when Hamza got the belt. It was because he's already priced high and the fight was boring. Definitely true, man. Definitely true. And it's kind of an interesting topic whenever you're talking about people that win the title, right? Because not only is winning the title important, but also how they win the title is important. I already saw a couple of, comments online, particularly talking about how Josh Van handled the win and people not liking him being so excited because it was an injury finish. Now, personally, if I win, a title, my dreams come true, probably going to be pretty hyped. So I can't necessarily fault Josh Van for being super hyped, even getting the win off of an injury, right? But it was still kind of anticlimactic in my opinion. And again, is it the most anticlimactic title win of all time? Like, I hate to see that with a young up-and-comer, second youngest champion of all time. So very, very high accolade there for Josh Van. He's going to be around the sport a long, long time. Yeah, man, but will his cards move? Going to be kind of tough to determine that based upon, the finish and how the fight ended. But I do think he should get a bump, being that I don't think we see Pantoja for a while. That arm exploded and, it's going to probably require surgery, going to probably require plates, screws, the whole 9 yards. Going to also be a lengthy rehab when he does come back from that injury. So, we'll talk about matchups too. Who do we see next against Van? It's going to be exciting times within this division with so many young people, up and coming, right there up at the top of the heap right now. All right, so first up in the episode, let's talk about some young guys. Let's talk about some guys that do not have cards yet. And this is going to be Myron Santos. And he had a big finish last night. Some say it was early, maybe a tad early, but honestly, I think that's, kind of what you want to see whenever a guy's face down in the canvas, getting punched in the head. But he's a guy that was on the Ultimate Fighter on Tough, won that show, looked really good last night, looked pretty solid on the show as well. And he's also a very, very young guy. And we're starting to see multiple of these people bubble up where these kids grew up training MMA. They grew up, training mixed martial arts. And we're really starting to see a lot of people that are extremely young. There for a while, it was, people were hitting their prime, 27 to 35 kind of in that window. And I still think we'll see people hitting their prime in that window, but I do think we're going to start to see a lot of people that have success early on in the sport whenever they are, 23 to 26, 27. And that wasn't necessarily the case 5, 10 years ago. And I think we're going to continue to see guys like Myron Santos who are young and hungry and have the skills because they've been training since they were young kids, and have been exposed to mixed martial arts and the UFC for a long time as it's growing, in popularity. One thing about Myron Santos, though, he did miss weight. He's a fun counter striker. He's already beaten also some solid opponents in the UFC. Francis Fire Marshall, really close fight. Some say Francis Marshall won that. Kind of gonna be up to your scorecards on that. We also have Sadiq Yousuf, and now the finish again last night against a person who was ranked pretty highly and is a hard guy to finish, and he does get that finish with that clean right hand 1-2 combo. So that's a guy that I could potentially see coming out in 2026, maybe with some cards and being kind of a slept-on rookie. I don't think a lot of people are necessarily talking about him, but I am worried about the weight misses. I mean, that's a huge deal. We know, right? We know the weight misses are going to be a huge hindrance to you moving up in the rankings, and also going to be a huge hindrance with Dana White. If you don't make weight, he will absolutely blackball you. So that is one thing that I'm kind of worried about with Myron Santos. All right, if you guys are watching, let me know in the chat. Hit me with some questions. Let me know where you're watching from. A little bit early today, but got the baby and trying to knock this video out and then get going with some family stuff on this Sunday. Was up late last night, man, with watching these fights, 12 a.m. or maybe a little bit after, and I am ready for that to be behind us and ready for the Paramount Plus deal, where the events should be ending around probably 11, which is a little bit more helpful and realistic for whenever we're trying to navigate life as well as be fight fans. All right, so next up we had another guy that does not have any cards, and he is probably going to be in 2026, and I am pretty excited about that and pretty sure that he's going to be in 2026 because he does have a debut patch coming, and he was wearing the debut patch last night. Talking about Iwo Rudy Baranowski, and if you watch that fight was absolutely bonkers, man. I mean, you're talking about like blood and guts performance there, just throwing caution to the wind, slugfesting it out from the very beginning. This was only, I think it was 79-second fight, and him and his opponent just absolutely threw down, and it was back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, you can see the comment right here. That was the craziest prelim fight ever. It was absolutely insane, and that's how you win fans. I don't know necessarily if that's long term, if that's a great fighting style, but it was a really good debut from Iwo Baranowski. And again, debut patch card, probably going to be here in 2026. What are these patch cards going to sell for? Personally, I'm going to try and get one from one of these guys. I think that's just a really fun idea. And whenever your debut patch card is tied to a fight like that was absolutely bananas and bonkers. I mean, people are saying, the greatest round they've ever seen. And it was just back and forth, haymakers, damage. Everything about that fight was absolutely insane. So Iwo Rudy Baranowski potentially, going to be with the debut patch in 2026. And with these debut patch cards, man, again, it's a debut thing, right? So we don't really have a lot to work off of. But in Topps Chrome baseball, where they have these debut patch cards, they were in Topps Chrome Update. So I'm guessing for us in the UFC world, they're going to be in Topps Chrome Hobby Boxes. That would be my best guess. Again, we do not know, but I think we can see that in the future. All right, let's see. We got any people in the chat? Still no people in the chat. It's a little early, so I'm hoping we can at least get a couple people out there, interacting. But I realize 9 a.m. when you're staying up all the way up until midnight and past is not necessarily the greatest time for people coming in and hanging out. So next up, I wanted to talk about the return of Jalen the Tarantula Turner. And I, for one, am super hyped that he is back. I had some Jalen Turner cards and one that we'll actually try and look at here in a second and show off. But I wanted to take a look at this, and this is one of Jalen Turner's first autos. So he is one of the cases where he does have two first autos from 2022 Panini Chronicles. There is a 1/1 Jalen Turner just floating around out there, and pretty good looking card, man. Super fractor. Now the seller did take this picture and disclose this damage, which good on you, man. Good on you for disclosing that, because the amount of cards I've purchased and then received with things like this that were not talked about or were not shown is pretty insane, that the amount of people that do that and get away with it. But really nice card here. So if you guys are in the market for any Jalen Turner cards, go check this card out, man. And at 500, he looked pretty incredible. Very emotional, post fight speech as well, which I always like that. I like to see where these athletes and where the fighter's headspace is. The psychology behind this sport is insane, and you have to have so much self-belief and so much will to persevere. So it's always really fun and interesting to kind of hear from the fighters and get to see what they're thinking right after insane moments like we saw from Jalen Turner. All right, we got a couple people watching. We got Jaden in the chat. What up, dude? Let me center this up for you. What's up, Jaden? Thanks for watching, man. Go ahead, if you are watching, hit that like button. I'm gonna try and get to 30. It's a lofty goal. But I think we can get close. We might be able to do it. Also, I wanna try this, dude. This is the first time I'm ever trying this live. Let's see if this works. Because I want to show off. I want to show off this Jalen Turner card. And this is oh man, the desk cam, we're live, baby, live showing it off. So I actually have this, right? It is a 2022 Panini Select UFC Jalen Turner Gold Prism SGC 10. And this is basically the only big Jalen Turner card that I have. I did sell a tie-dye pretty recently. Maybe actually not very recently. It was probably a year ago now, maybe a little more. Time's going by so fast. But this is, probably the biggest Jalen Turner card that I have, and I'm really thinking about cracking this and sending it to PSA. We got the gold and red. I think the gold and red is just going to look a little bit better in PSA, and this is one that I'm probably going to keep, but, if he has a big skid again, or, if there's rumblings of him potentially retiring again, I could see myself flipping it. But for the short term, I definitely want to hold this card. I would say probably at least another 2-3 years and see what Jalen Turner can do. I'm rooting for the guy. I hope he can go far again. Super talented. I really enjoy watching him strike, and he is just so tall and lanky for that weight class. I do think he can have, some more really good finishes and some more really exciting fights left in this division. So the debut of the phone desk cam, I'm happy that worked on the live. I was messing with it late last night, a little bit in between fights, and we're able to get that working and maybe use that in the future potentially, right? Let's get back to the chat, see if anybody's talking about some stuff, and then we will move on to Nazim Sadikov news and talk a little bit about Zayam and kind of how that fight went. So, one thing with these prospects, right, and prospecting, and I'm going to try and talk about it every single time, right? Every single time this happens, I want to talk about it because I want to put this out there and show you guys that prospecting is so dangerous, man. So we have Nazim Sadikov, 2025 rookie. He's been somewhat popular as of late, and he even has a sale that broke 4 figures. He has a 101 super factor that went for $1,000 in August. So some decent money floating around on Nazim Sadikov. But man, the guy has been prospected a lot. He's 31 years old, right? 31 years old. And I say all this, right? It's definitely possible that he comes back and is able to, make something of himself and, become a really, really talented fighter and maybe go on to win a championship, right? But whenever you're talking about prospecting, whenever you're talking about how risky this is, like this is the potential things that could happen. So we have $1,000 superfractor, really nice card, 101, first auto. If you are a Nazim collector, this is probably going to be the best card you could have, right? It's a really nice card. But again, 31 years old, loses, takes two huge elbows from Zayam, goes down. Stoppage was a little weird, honestly. And Herzog had a few interesting decisions that I saw last night. Okay, so it's right at the bell. He knocks him out with two elbows. Starts pounding him, pounding him, pounding him, pounding him. And Herzog, I was like, okay, he could stop it before the bell. He doesn't. The bell rings, and then he stops the fight. He doesn't even let Nazim get a chance to get up and go to the corner, which I believe is the rule. Again, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I believe that is the rule, that you have to at least allow the opponent to get to the corner. It seemed like he immediately called the fight. So kind of an interesting decision there. But another tale of, prospecting and how treacherous the waters are treacherous, man. And whenever it comes to that, and the odds are just stacked against you. Time and time again, we see guys that have huge prices that command huge premiums, and then they have one stumble, two stumbles, and they're not necessarily the same, because this game of fighting is so mental and it's so confidence based that once you kind of get shook, sometimes we see people just kind of slide down the hill. So yeah, in the chat, if you're watching, thanks for watching. Hit that like button. Let's get some comments in here, dude. Let's get this thing rolling. Let's talk about some of these insane matchups and keep it moving on UFC 323. And next up is the big one. It is the big one. We're going to talk about Payton Talbott versus Henry Cejudo. And this was probably the most exciting fight for me, because I really enjoy watching Payton Talbott fight. I really enjoy his style. I think he is probably one of the best athletes in this division. I mean, he's just very smooth, very explosive, really good stamina, and he's pretty strong, as he showed in the grappling. And this was the test. This was the test for me. I was like, if Talbott can get it done, look good against a guy like Henry Cejudo, who, yes, Henry Cejudo is old. Yes, it's a retirement fight. But Henry Cejudo is still a very, very complete fighter, man. He's still a very complete fighter. Look at him just doing flips, and I feel like every celebration he's tried to do, he has not been able to land it, which is funny to me. But yeah, just an insane performance from Talbot. Not only does he stifle the takedown attempts, not only does he land pure, clean shots. We know he's a talented striker, but he also hit Cejudo with multiple takedowns, which was insane to me. We know how good Henry Cejudo is on the ground. We know he has Olympic accolades. And to see Talbot, who is only 27, he's only 27 years old. And, the history in this organization, he still probably has a solid 5, that's conservative 5 years to continue to get better and reach his potential and his peak. And the rate at which he is improving is really what made me be like, okay, this guy's legit. Because to watch him a few fights ago, I think it was Raoni Barcelos, and kind of struggle with some of the takedowns, kind of struggle with some of the groundwork, to then his last fight, he looked great in the scrambles and looked like he had improved, to then do this to Cejudo. And honestly, he had a couple sequences where he ragdolled Cejudo in the grappling, which is insane, showing, how good of an athlete he really is. And also, props to Henry, man. Props to Henry Cejudo. This guy is a warrior, dude. Look at this. Look at this. This is gross. This is gross. And, I mean, he took a lot of punishment, and he stayed in there, and he kept coming. He kept putting his, putting his heart out there, fighting hard. He even cracked Talbot with some really good shots. Like, it wasn't just a one-sided victory. It was pretty back and forth, and Cejudo made him work for it. And also, great cardio from Talbot. I think it was the second round. He almost had a finish on Cejudo, and for a second, I was like, he's going to punch himself out. And he ended the round kind of slow, but then in the round 3, he came back and looked great. So very, very good performance from Payton Talbot. What are y'all's thoughts on this? I mean, do you think he has what it takes to continue to rise to the top? Do you think he has what it takes to potentially explode his UFC cards and his trading cards. I mean, personally, he's already somewhat high, but after this performance, I may even pay a little bit and get one of his cards because I was very, very impressed by that performance. All right, we got some more. We got some people in the chat now. Go ahead, throw some stuff in the chat. Let me know what you're thinking. Also, if you're watching, hit that like button. We're trying to get to 30 likes. Dream, believe, and achieve. It's a difficult task, but I think we can do it if you guys hit that button. Hit that button for me. What's up? What's up, man? Fights were awesome late night. Looking at grabbing Yan Frozen Fractor. We're gonna talk about Petr Yan here soon, and he looked insane, man. He looked absolutely insane, and I am I was very surprised by his market, to be honest. And he has a very interesting career. Petr Yan has a very interesting trajectory on his career. The DQ with Aljo, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, the twists, the turns, and he's back on top, man. And he looked amazing. And we're gonna talk about that fight with Merab, and also talk about. I feel like I'm mentioning DC a lot in this episode, but we're gonna talk about the commentary too, and how much that can influence fights depending on what the commentary are saying. But yeah, man, really good fight with Talbott and Cejudo, and a good way to end the career, in my opinion, for Henry Cejudo. He went out on his shield, and he gave the fans an entertaining fight. And if you can't win, the next best thing is to please the fans and put on an entertaining performance, and he definitely did that. All right, let's talk about some of his Talbott's card pricing, some of his best cards, his true rookie, his first auto, and then we'll get back to the chat and see if any of you guys are hanging out, throwing me some questions, talking about these fights. I'll be back over there to check with you guys in a second. But first, let's talk about Payton Talbott's true rookie, his biggest sales, and his first auto. So this is, I believe, whenever I looked last night, which we could have some bigger sales than this. We know what happens whenever some of these guys win and the prices explode. But this was the biggest sale as of last night, and it is the true rookie, and it's going to be the super factor. So this is potentially the big. Well, it depends on how you grade the cards, and I realize that I don't have the screen share on now, so we'll go over there. We'll see if my computer can get this screen up and running, dude. It is a struggle at the moment to make this dinosaur laptop do what I need it to do. So we have the Talbott 101 Superfractor, and oh my gosh, the screen is still not going. Come on, dude. Shout out to everybody at the back crew. Everybody at the back crew that's supporting the channel. This is why I appreciate it, because I'm saving up for a new laptop so that stuff like this doesn't keep happening, because this is so frustrating. But yeah, man, what I'm looking at right now, I don't know if it's even going to pop up at this point. It is the 101 Chrome Superfractor from Payton Talbott on 2025 Topps Chrome, and it sold for $2,340. And what is interesting about this card, right, is it's the true rookie, but also within Chrome we have, we had the Sapphire Edition, we have the 101 Paparazzi, I believe is what they call it, and we also have the Superfractor. But I mean, 2,340 is expensive, right? That's pretty insane for prospecting. But if you are a big Talbott fan, if he's a PC guy of yours, and you believe in the talent, that is the card you want, in my opinion. You want the Superfractor. The gold is always going to be a good look. It's always going to be timeless, right? And kind of an interesting card and an interesting price there. But when we compare it to this one, and we'll see if this pops up, which I may be cursed here on the screen share, which is not good, because I like to do a lot of sharing on the screen in these episodes. But right now I'm looking at the 2025 Topps Chrome Payton Talbott, and it is his first auto from Topps Chrome. It is going to be the Black of 10 rookie. That sold for $560. So that is, in my opinion, what is that, a fourth of the price between the 101? And there are going to be 10 of it, right? But kind of an interesting play that you could do there, where maybe you don't have enough money, enough funds, but you still want to invest in a Payton Talbott. You still want to get, high up on there, whether it's a true rookie, whether it's first auto. You have a couple of different options, right? And lastly, I wanted to talk about this Frozen Fractor from Payton Talbott. It sold for about $500. This is the debut of the Frozen Fractors, right? And still to be determined how they are going to be viewed within the UFC landscape long term. We don't know. but I do think that they look pretty cool, and it sold for about the same price as the first auto. Now that's an interesting question for y'all in the chat. Would you rather have the first auto, or would you rather have like a debut Frozen Fractor of 5, potentially a little bit more rare? What are your thoughts on that? First auto, Frozen